Before I get started on how I power my rigs, keep in mind that I am not an electrician, so I can't give you any sort of electrical advice in this video. I would highly recommend that you speak with an electrical professional before you even plug your rigs in and do your own research. With that all being said, today I am going to share some information and show you what I've been doing personally the past several months based on my own research as well as the rules that I've been abiding by. So first, let's get some basic terminology down. This entire outlet is referred to as a box. It has two receptacles in it, here, and it's being powered by a 12-gauge Romex cable. All of the boxes connected to that cable make up a circuit. Sometimes electricians combine box circuits with lights. For example, I have a circuit in my living room upstairs that powers a light fixture, as well as two separate boxes in that area. So in the case of this particular circuit, our cable is exposed and we can actually follow it all the way up the wall, through the rafters, and over into my breaker box over there. So we know for sure that this circuit is only powering these two boxes here. One of the boxes is powering this freezer, which is pulling about 300 watts, and the other box is powering through a 14-gauge 25-foot surge protector this mining rig right here on an 1,000-watt power supply. HomeDepot.com tells us that the standard American outlet receptacle is rated for 120 volts by 15 amps. We multiply those two numbers together and get 1,800 watts, 80% rule it to 1,440. But does that mean that we can pull 1,440 watts from any standard outlet that we find around our house? Not necessarily, because we need to take into account the circuit and what the circuit is rated for. So in order to figure out what the circuit is rated for, we need to go inside our breaker box, and definitely consult an electrician before you do this, but we can go inside our breaker box and look through the switches on here and see what they're rated for. See, at the end here, this says 20, so that's 20 amps, that says 15, so it's 15 amps. I know that that particular circuit is circuit 21 and it's rated for 15 amps. These two boxes on that circuit are rated for 120 volts. So what I need to do is multiply the 120 volts by 15 amps again, and we get 1,800, 80% rule it again to 1,440. So what that means is that this entire circuit can pull 1,440 watts in total safely. But that's 1,440 combined over every single box on that circuit. So I can't just pull 1,440 from this one and pull another 1,440 from that one, because that will trip my breaker or melt an outlet. So what I need to do, and what I have done, is I've looked up the rating for this freezer here, this old dog freezer from 95, and it pulls about 300 watts constantly. So I take that 300 watts and I subtract it from our 1,440 number, and we're left with 1,140. This means that any rig or combination of rigs that I put on any receptacle on this circuit must be under 1,140 watts combined. So we know that the only rig that I have on this circuit is this one with an 1,000-watt EVGA power supply. So as long as I don't overload my power supply, I shouldn't be overloading my circuit either. However, let's say I had two of these rigs plugged into that same circuit over here. If I plugged one 1,000-watt rig right there and another one down there, it would trip my breaker. So I need to be really careful and know exactly how much wattage is already being pulled from that circuit before I plug my miners in. Because again, any standard receptacle is rated for up to 1,440 watts to be pulled from it, but only if the rest of the circuit is clear. If there's other electronics or lights that are pulling power from that same circuit, you need to account for those, or else you're gonna have a bad time. Let's say, for the sake of argument, instead of a 15 amp circuit on circuit 21 here, I had a 20 amp circuit. How much power could I pull from that circuit in its entirety? So in that case, I would take the 120 volt outlet and multiply it by 20 amps, which gives us 2,400 watts. 80% that rule down to 1,920 watts safely. But remember, our receptacle is only rated for 1,440. So in that case, I actually would need to spread the load between two separate receptacles. So I hope that makes sense, guys. The only other thing I want to talk about in today's video is my surge protectors and how I pick out the ones that I purchase and use. So the first thing that I'll look for is for the box to actually say surge protector on it rather than power strip or outlet extender. Only the surge protectors give you the protection that you need. The next thing that I look for is either the gauge of the cable, or I look for the wattage rating down at the bottom here, so we can see that the wattage is rated for 1,875 watts, 15 amps, 125 volts. So we should be fine to put up to 15 amps of power going through this particular surge. That surge is right here. It's got 2 mining rigs plugged into it. This one's pulling about 600 watts. That one's pulling about 400. So we should be well under our limit. The last thing that I look for, and this is optional, is the connected equipment warranties. I like having these because it protects your equipment in the case that the surge protector fails. That's just sort of for my own peace of mind in case the surge protector fails and my equipment gets fried one day, that I have another layer of protection. I can file a warranty claim on this surge. But remember, I'm plugging this surge into a 120 by 15 outlet. So I, again, do not want to load this surge protector with more than 1440 watts. Or in the case of our freezer example, where there's another piece of equipment pulling wattage from that same circuit, we don't want to pull more than 1140 from this surge. Just some key takeaways to wrap up this video. I always use a surge protector rated at least 120 volts by 15 amps to protect my very expensive mining equipment. Number 2, I never pull more than 14,400 watts from any single outlet or receptacle in my home. And before I do that, I always check the amperage of my circuit and account for any other equipment or lights or electronics that may also be pulling power from that same circuit. And the last key takeaway, and the most important one, is I always consult with an electrician or an electric professional before I do any of this. Mining cryptocurrency can be very fun, it can be profitable, it can be educational, but crypto mining can also be very dangerous. There's been countless stories about people burning down their homes and really doing damage to themselves and their families just because they made a mistake with the electric standards in their home, or they're uninformed, or they didn't know how to do these things properly. And it makes me so sad to think about, you guys, honestly. So again, I would highly recommend that you seek the help and consultation of a professional certified electrician. I'm not an electrician, so I hope you found this video informative and entertaining. At the end of the day, it's your responsibility to do your own research, hire your own electrician, and make sure that you and your family are being safe. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your days. Bye.